I never thought a face could hold a whole history. I didn't realize how much of my life would be written on my mouth, my cheeks, the way strangers squinted at my photos, until I had to rewrite it myself. My name is Maya Rivera. I grew up in Austin, Texas. When I was 17, my mom drove me across state lines and sat me down in a dingy motel off I-10 to get illegal fillers. I didn't want them. I told her that. I begged. But she treated it like a plan she'd already decided on, like changing the weather. A woman named Marta pulled a folding chair from a suitcase, the kind of chair that scrapes on cheap linoleum, and said, flat as a script, "Don't worry, I've done this on girls younger than you." Hearing that line made something inside me flip cold. There's a kind of silence that follows when your voice is taken. You start shrinking. You stop taking pictures. You cancel plans. You learn to hide because your face tells stories you didn't write. That's what happened to me. A touch-up in a motel became another touch-up in a nail salon backroom in Dallas, then a garage in San Antonio. Each time someone called it an investment, my mother called it love. I started calling it theft. You can talk about the physical changes, the puffiness, the unevenness, the way my smile looked off in photos. But the real damage was how I learned to disappear. I stopped smiling in pictures because the face that looked back at me wasn't mine. I avoided classes. I stopped going out. I left opportunities alone because I felt like an oddity stepping into the world. I tried to fix it myself. I paid for therapy, dissolvers, lasers, licensed doctors, and sterile offices that felt unbelievably respectful after that motel. I learned what consent really meant. I learned how to read a consent form and leave if someone tried to rush me. I learned to book my own appointments. Those were the first moments I remembered being in charge of my body. Then, the final blow. On my 21st birthday, while clearing a kitchen drawer, I found a receipt. Miami, an eye lift. The name on the paper was a doctor I'd never met, and the total at the bottom was a number that belonged in my college account. My college fund, my plan, my future had been spent on my mother's secret procedure. I remember holding the paper and feeling my insides go numb. That's when I packed up and left. I moved out. I finished school. I worked nights, saved up, and started paying professionals to fix what had been done in motel rooms and garages. It was expensive and slow. I learned how to schedule appointments, how to ask a doctor questions without a voice trembling in my throat. I learned that healing was paperwork, persistence, and time. Years later, she texted, "Coming to Austin for a few days. Can we meet?" My gut clenched the way it did the night we pulled into that motel. I wanted closure, and I also wanted nothing to do with her. We met at Kirby Lane Cafe. It smelled like coffee and pancakes, comforting and ordinary. She sat down, and I almost didn't recognize her. Her cheeks were pulled unnaturally high, her brows barely moved, and the expression on her face looked like a doll. Forever surprised, it was jarring. There was something grotesque in how obvious the work had been. She cried. She told me she'd gone to Colombia and found a cheap surgeon. "I need a correction," she said, voice trembling. Then she asked, plain and direct, could I help her pay for it? Imagine the feeling, the person who spent your college fund now asking you to fund her repair. I already knew the cost. I'd spent thousands undoing the damage she had done to me. Therapy, dissolvers, laser treatments, real clinics that respected consent. I had scraped together money, taken side jobs, skipped vacations, all to be free of the consequences of her decisions. Now she wanted me to hand my hard-earned money back over. At first, I felt a wave of old rage. I pictured every time she'd said, "It's an investment." I pictured that motel chair. I pictured my college fund receipt. I could have raged or broken things. Instead, I paused. I made a decision that felt exactly like the opposite of what she expected. I wrote a check for $17. $17. $1 for each year I tried to be the daughter she wanted instead of the person I needed to be. I folded a short note inside, $1 for every year I tried to be the daughter you wanted. I sealed it and walked to the mailbox. It felt quiet and final, more like a punctuation than a scream. After that, I changed small things. I stopped doing favors that felt like costs. I stopped answering late-night texts asking for money. I canceled the coffee she used to drop by just because. These gestures sound small, but boundaries are built from small bricks. Saying no in those tiny moments changed the whole structure. But I won't lie, it wasn't clean. There were awkward family dinners and relatives who sided with her. Friends drifted. Gossip spread like smoke through town. An aunt pulled me aside at a reunion and said, "Maybe your mom just wanted the best for you." That line landed like a slap. But choosing to step away from that noise was part of my healing. Therapy helped a lot. My therapist made me tell the motel story out loud, which felt like ripping off a scab. She taught me grounding tools, naming 5 things in the room, breathing exercises, small techniques that stop flashbacks from spiraling into panic. The first time I used those tools before a procedure, my hands didn't shake as much. That felt like winning. Rebuilding also cost money and time. I worked side jobs, negotiated payment plans, and traded favors with kind doctors who cared. There were nights I ate ramen while saving for a dissolver. There were weeks of paperwork and follow-up calls. It was boring and brutal and necessary. None of it came with cinematic music or a triumphant montage, just clinic visits and receipts and the slow, satisfying tightening that comes with things settling back into place. People sometimes ask if I was wrong to cut her off in that way. Was the check petty? Was I cruel? Some will tell you forgiveness is noble. Maybe it is. Forgiveness doesn't mean you hand someone your future back to spend. Forgiveness doesn't mean you let them keep calling the shots. For me, the check was a line. It was a way to say, I am not your ATM. I am not your mirror. I am a person. She sent a text months later. I'm sorry. I didn't know how to be different. I read it, then deleted it. The words were soft, but they didn't fix the account she had emptied. Maybe one day I'll write a longer reply. For now, I'm finishing my life on my terms. I meet young women all the time who whisper the same thing. My mom says it's for my future, or I'll just let them do this. It's cheaper. So many people think a quick fix will make life smoother. But quick fixes can be theft in disguise when someone else decides for you. If you are being pressured by a parent, a partner, a friend, put a pause on it. Give yourself time to think. Ask for a second opinion. Demand licensed professionals and written consent. Ask to keep your money in your account. These are not dramatic acts. They are survival. Some nights I still flinch when I see a certain angle of my face in a flash photo, but now I don't feel owned by my reflection. I keep a folder of old photos that remind me who I was before any of this. Grainy Polaroids, messy selfies with friends, a prom picture where my smile was mine. When doubt crawls back in, I look at those moments and I remember that the me in those photos deserve to be left alone. Healing is not revenge. It's small decisions that add up. It's learning to trust your voice in doctors' offices. It's saying no to being used. It's choosing a future you pay for with your own hands. The check was symbolic, sure, but symbolism matters when your life has been taken as collateral for someone else's vanity. Was I wrong? I don't think so. I do think we should ask hard questions. Why do we let someone else write our futures? Why do we accept that appearance equals worth? If you are watching this and you are faced with pressure to change your body for someone else's comfort, pause. Ask for time. Ask for licensed care. Write down what you want for yourself, not what someone else demands. Start somewhere small if you need to. A consult with a licensed doctor, a therapy session, a conversation with someone you trust. I don't tell this story to make you hate my mother. I tell it so you'll see how fragile the line between help and takeover can be. She was a woman who learned that her value depended on a mirror. I learned that my value depends on my choices. That's not glamorous. It's not viral, but it's mine. If you're thinking this sounds petty or cold, that's okay. They didn't feel petty when they were happening. They felt like the only choices left to protect the life I've been trying to build. I took the path that gave me back a voice. I don't glamorize the pain. I own the recovery. That's what matters. So no, I don't regret the check. I don't revel in the silence. I toast to my own slow, stubborn insistence on being myself. If that sounds small, remember this. Small things add up until one day you find yourself standing in a kitchen with coffee in your hand and realizing you're the one writing your story.